It's great to have you with me today on Paint a Beautiful Picture. I have shared with you many times that if you ask me for information about a particular topic or ask me a very specific question, I will do my best to answer it or to address it, especially if I think it's something that will have an appeal to a broader audience. This is the reason for this episode, number 203 on postpartum depression. Guys, before you turn me off or say, oh, this has nothing to do with me, if you're ever going to have anything to do with a woman in your lifetime, your mom, your sister, a colleague, a friend, or your mate, yeah, actually, this does have something to do with you, so don't just tune me out. I have kind of more extreme makeup on for this episode for a reason. So, though you're not used to seeing me like this, bear with me. Women, literally, from the time they are babies, have a radically different kind of a life than a guy. And it's all driven by hormones. So we can't change that. It is right in our bodies chemically. The only time I was so severely depressed that I had to go in the hospital over it because I was out of control and I was going to kill myself or someone else, and I'm not kidding when I say that to you, it was very hormonal. It was after a hysterectomy, and though I was taking oral estrogen, none of it was reaching to my body at a cellular level, and I was a wreck. And they started giving me massive amounts of hormones, and in a couple months, I actually felt regular again. We all understand that sometimes women, when they're going through premenstrual syndrome, true PMS, not the fakey stuff that people talk about, because not everyone has these extreme chemical surges in their body, but some people do. And women will end up doing violent things, literally sometimes to the point of killing people, because their hormones are outrageously out of control. Pregnancy is a very interesting, fascinating, unusual event for a woman because she is carrying and helping to create a new life right inside of her own body. And there are a number of hormonal things going on to support the life of that baby growing inside of her. Not her life, the baby's life, a separate life. But her body is the incubator or the house that is safely providing for the growth and the nurturance of that little life. So, hormonally, so many things are going on. And there are massive surges of hormones during the delivery process, and even bigger ones that occur right after the delivery process in order that the uterine fibers can start to come together so the woman doesn't bleed to death. And then the hormones that influence lactation so she can feed her baby. I mean, a woman goes through outrageous hormonal changes in the 2 weeks surrounding delivery and that immediacy in the postpartum. And some women get horribly depressed. My pastor came to me, I won't even say when because I won't let anyone know who this person was, about a person in our congregation that was severely depressed, going through a postpartum depression. He was so extremely concerned about her. She had had suicidal ideations and she was struggling to care for her children. There was so much going on with her. So I went to her and I told her, as a labor and delivery nurse, as a maternal child nurse, that I could be of real help to her. She said, no, no, I don't need any help. I'm fine. I'm not depressed. Nothing's wrong with me. She would not allow anyone to help her. She went through over 8 months of it because she didn't want to receive any help. That was very challenging to watch. And I honestly believe from some things I've heard her say along the way in the ensuing years, she carries a lot of guilt about how she didn't take good care of her children in that particular period of time in her life. That's really sad. Ladies, I want you to know, if you hit a place in your life and you're depressed, really badly depressed, and you don't understand, it's like, I just had a baby, I should be at the best I've ever been, and I feel terrible, and I'm having all these things going on. Please, please, please get some help. Go talk to someone, see if you actually need to be on medication. Have the people who are around you, who love you, help you look after the baby sometimes and give you a little bit of relief because you're not standing the regular stresses of a newborn. Get what you need. Go let someone help you. Men, this is where you come into play. It isn't something we decide. We don't go, okay, well, this is really bad, and so I'm just going to act like a witch because I don't like what's happening to me. No, no. Very seldom does that have anything to do with it at all. It's the hormones just raging and going places, and hormones can really depress us. We women have this great and unique gift to bear life, but then we also have this unique and sometimes challenging battle hormonally with the cost of what that was like. And if you can get a hold of that and say, okay, my wife is really fighting with her own body and her own mind and chemically what's going on with her, and I'm going to help her and I'm going to support her, then you're in the right ball field. If your wife had diabetes, would you yell at her for that? Would you be mad at her about that? Would you get upset about that? Unless she's been eating till she weighs 650 pounds and she did it herself, most likely not, because diabetes happens to us and it is hormonal inside of our body. Our body does not produce enough insulin to take care of the sugar that we feed it. Well, guess what? This is also a hormonal thing. It isn't anything to feel guilty about, to be ashamed of, to try to hide from other people. It is a chemical process going on inside of your body that you need to get someone to help you with. I realize it also has psychological implications. I'm not denying that, or even emotional ones. But the underlying thing is it is hormonal, it is chemical. So you shouldn't feel any worse about having postpartum depression than you would about having diabetes or having hyper or hypothyroidism. Yeah, these are things that your body does that you cannot do much about except get help and let someone treat it properly. And in time, by the grace of God, it will resolve. But get some help while it's going on. So what does it look like? You have no energy. I mean, you just can't even get yourself out of bed. And heaven forbid, when anyone has a new baby, this is the case. But I mean, you cannot get yourself out of bed even when the baby is just screaming right across the room. You just can't care. You just can't get up. You can't hardly take care of yourself. Taking a bath, washing your hair, forget putting on lipstick. You just can't do it. You don't have what it takes to do it. You're angry. You're excessively sad. I mean, you cry at every single little tiny thing. Forget Hallmark movies. Uh, you know, anyway, just it's out of control. Your emotions are very out of control. Or they're very labile. It means they change so quickly. One minute you're angry, the next minute you're crying, then you're laughing hysterically. You're not suddenly bipolar. You're probably having an agitated, depressive state. So your emotions are just all over the place and out of control. You do think about killing yourself. You really look at the value of your life. Is it really worth it? You're like, oh my gracious, I have this brand new baby. I should be the happiest person alive, and I just want to die. Okay? You have a hard time getting along with people that you've always been able to get along with before. Every single thing is bugging you, driving you stark, raving mad. Literally. Yes, you may well be in the throes of postpartum depression. You've always loved to be the life of the party. You like to go out with people and be social and have a blast. Suddenly you don't want to do anything but lock yourself in your room. Yeah, you could definitely be suffering with postpartum depression. Go get someone to help you. Get an assessment from someone who knows what they're talking about and get some help. Don't be ashamed. Don't be afraid. Don't base your responses on guilt or expected outcomes. Just because you've had 2 children before and nothing like this ever happened to you before doesn't mean it can't happen to you now. Just because you've never heard of anyone or seen anyone or known anyone, it doesn't mean it can't happen to you. So get some help. Let me say this to you. as a woman, you are going to go through hormonal changes throughout your entire lifetime. It starts when you're a baby. Little babies right out of the womb have all these massive hormonal surges that go on. I won't go into great detail about what it does to them, but let me tell you, it's kind of surprising. So it literally goes from birth forward. Girls tend to be kind of even from the time they're a couple months old until they're 8, 10, 12, whenever menses begins. But about a year or so before their menstrual cycle is going to come, all these hormonal surges happen to them and they feel it. They go boy crazy. They're irritable. They're very emotional. They're just so many things. And it's all hormonal. Their body is starting to develop. They're developing breast buds. They're developing hair in the 3 primary places. They develop body odor like they've never had before. They have all these feelings, and I do mean both physiological as well as emotional, that they've never had before. They start thinking about things they've never thought about. Their body is driving them hormonally. For many young women, after their menstrual cycle starts, it does calm down somewhat, but for some, it even gets worse. So you can literally almost look at them by the week and tell what's going on. If they're ovulating, if they're in that key stage where someday when they're able, they would conceive, then they're going through their menses, and then they're in the after menstrual part of it, and then they go into it again. It just keeps going and going, and you see it. Oh my word, if you're their parent, you're paying any kind of attention at all, you're seeing it. Like, oh my word, what happened to my precious little girl? Well, nothing horrible happened to her. Her body is just developing as a young woman, as it should, and sometimes it's very extreme and somewhat out of control. And this is where effective parenting throughout a child's entire lifetime helps them understand what's happening to them, why it's happening to them, how to get a hold of their emotional state, how to discuss with you as their mom or their dad what's going on and how they're feeling and what they're going through, and your assurance to them that this is absolutely normal, or in some cases, not always normal. And so we're going to get you some help about this. I don't love the idea, but I will tell you that sometimes it is a workable option, that a young woman whose periods are so out of control that she needs to go on hormone therapy, which we would in our day and age call birth control pills oftentimes, or some form of something that looks like a birth control pill, because that is in fact the same exact kind of suppression of hormones that happens when they're hormonally unstable, to help them to get through a couple of rough years. Many young women will have relief from it after they have their first child, but not all. And some people are much worse after having their first child. And of course, anybody who's ever been near someone who's pregnant knows that pregnancy is a very hormonally volatile state, and it comes and goes, and there are various parts of it. Yes, this is a woman's entire adventurous life. Once you cease menstruation, so you're postmenopausal, doesn't mean that you don't have hormone surges, which is what hot flashes and other things are all about. You need to know as a woman, you're on a journey for the rest of your life that it's going to have certain factors that are driven by your hormones. Nothing is wrong with you. Not a single thing. You are a woman. These are normal things for us. You do need support and love and care, not only from your own self, but from those with whom you live and those that you trust, so that when or if, because it doesn't happen to everyone, things get a little out of whack, you have someone who can put their arms around you, let you know that they love you and it's going to be okay and you're going to get through this. Please be sure that you are sending this very message to your teenage daughter. I am begging you, don't call it a curse. Don't act like it's the worst thing that ever could happen. Let her know it is a beautiful and wonderful thing to be a young woman. These are some of the things that are going to happen to you. It's very manageable, and it is part of what it takes, part of the wonderful process of being able to create life, bear life, live life. If you are a new mom and you are really struggling, which I don't think I've ever met a new mom that didn't, and you think that you might have postpartum depression, or you're really having difficulty emotionally coping with your pregnancy, please don't be afraid to reach out and get some help. From your OBGYN would be my first choice, but if you don't want to talk to them about it, you can go to your primary care physician, you can go to a clinical psychologist, go get some help. Don't stay where you are. Don't let guilt or shame or fear keep you from getting the help that you need. If you're a dad living with a mom who may or may not see what's going on with her own self, and you have reason to believe that she might be suffering with it, then have a gentle, calm, compassionate conversation with her and say, honey, I really think we need to call the doctor, or I'll go with you so that you can get some help with this. I hope this has been of great assistance to some of you. And for the rest of you, be kind to each other, especially to those who are new parents. Thank you so much for being with me today. I will see you again soon. You may find additional information on our paintabeautifulpicture.com website. Additionally, you may watch me on Rumble, and you may also listen to a podcast on Buzzsprout or Spreaker, all under the name Paint a Beautiful Picture. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. You may subscribe, and if you are interested in receiving notifications, please hit the notifications button.